Welcome to the Heat Beat Podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas, on this very wonderful Thursday afternoon. And with me today, producer and co-founder, Brian Goins.
Fuck them numbers.
Fuck them numbers. You could shop at our Miami Heat Beat store. So somebody put that link in chat.
I got you.
You got me, Brian, producer extraordinaire. Buy Tiffany Meek's new shirt. Fuck them numbers. We will give lots of numbers today. I'm so excited for today. So let me introduce the cast of characters. And if you're listening on the pod feed, we love you. Make sure to join us on Twitch sometime, twitch.tv/MIA Heatbeat. And if you're a YouTube listener, please subscribe. Just click that little subscription button. That shit helps us. That shit helps us with the algorithm. We want to be friends with the algorithm. So give us a chance there. On the bottom left-hand side, Photoshop and anime lover Brass Jazz.
What's up, everybody?
And if you're watching on stream, you already know he's here. If you're a pod listener, you're gonna be excited. The great from 5 on the Floor and 5 Reasons Sports, our Saucy Nuggets insider, Lefty Leif, or as you may know him now as Greg Sylvander.
It feels like home, guys. What's up?
What's up, dog? How's it been?
Are you wearing the Trust Esposa shirt? Hold on.
Oh, he's wearing the Trust Esposa.
Oh, look
at that. That's the classic,
Lifer.
baby.
Lifer.
Shout out to Christian Hernandez on that, right? That was his joint.
You still get that on the Miami Heat Beat store.
It's a great shirt.
Right.
It's a legacy shirt. That's part of the legacy collection.
We have it in a
The
poster
legacy
now.
collection.
Leif, we have it in a poster now. Someone in France bought it, actually.
We do?
It's technically a poster, isn't it?
Exactly. It's supposed
What are you talking about? That poster's up in my bathroom.
That's the culture. I mean, you gotta, in the mornings you gotta see it.
Every time you're straining,
chats-
you just got to trust this process.
You meditate too, don't you?
I shave and I just look at that photo and I trust
By the
this
way,
process.
Nikias in chat says barefaced Leif, eye emoji. Chat is chanting Leif. Leif is a fucking man, says Shades Fitty. Vane Hype.
It's so
subscribe, cheer
flattering.
one sub.
I'm not that great. Come on, guys. I'm a gas bag these days.
I was telling Leif, I was on a call with somebody about some business stuff, and not a Heat related thing, and the guy's like, "Yo, do you know Greg from 5 Reasons?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Bro, I love him." I go, "Leif, yeah, Leif's awesome." He's like, "Bro, him and Nikias have my favorite Heat opinions," and I'm like, I'm right here, but thanks, but yeah, I love Leif and Nikias.
I love Leif and Nikias too, actually.
Did you expect someone to like your Heat opinions, G?
I mean, listen. The only time I've ever been popular on Heat Twitter is when I slander the Knicks. That was the only time everyone's like, "Gee,
hey, well,
congratulations."
Let's go on record right now. G is smarter about dissecting the game of basketball than I ever will be. So just put that out into the atmosphere as fact.
But he lacks culture, though.
I lack
Correct.
culture.
Net culture rating.
I lack
That's a different metric.
That's right.
We have so much to talk about today. We are going to get to Knicks slander as they absolutely got obliterated by the Denver Nuggets last night. We're gonna talk lots about that. I do want to pick Leif's brain. I mean, I think Leif is one of the people that has the most level-headed perspective. I mean, we're careening back and forth. I don't know how to feel from game to game. Brian is talking. Brian, you know how Brian is. One day Pat Riley has failed Jimmy Butler. The next day we're going to the finals. It's we go back and forth. So I kind of want your temperature where about a week and a half left, about 2 weeks left in the season. And I know this is a broad question and it's a little bit unfair, but you feel how about them given their expectations from last season?
What a dumbass team. This season has been remarkably frustrating and fluctuating up and down, but I think every Heat fan probably can identify with the fact that because of the run last year and because Jimmy is, in my opinion, as good as he's ever been, the scoring average may not be his career high, but overall, dude is just a beast. We know they have it in them. And because of that, it's hard for me to write them off. So there's a part of me that acknowledges that this has been frustrating. It's up and down. They don't look like the same team. There's a ton of things we can poke holes in, but then I'm like, man, Spo, Bam, and Jimmy in a 7-game series. Okay, there's a few of those teams up top in the East that I'm not going to hope traffic against, but otherwise, come on now, we got a shot.
I feel if things break right for them, they can be in a conference final. If they get the right matchups, and I think as long as they can stay away from the Nets,
that's best case.
And get best case. Like I think the Nets I just don't think they can score enough. What is your take kind of on because like their defense has been really good this year, right? And last year we talked a lot about how, you know, their defense was kind of, you know, it was suspect going to the playoffs and they figured some stuff out. But this year it's been like legit elite when Jimmy's on the floor. And their offense has just been in the toilet. And I don't know how much of that you chalk up to, you know, some guys in some second year slumps, some shooting stuff. Goran, I don't know what you attribute. What do you attribute that to?
A dumbass season. Once again, this was like step one of the dumb season, is that like throughout all of the pregame stuff that any of us were doing, whether it was your enterprise or it was Five on the Floor, we're all talking about, you know, the Heat need, you know, to figure out the defensive end because they were so, you know, good offensive. They were such a well-oiled machine. And then you come into the season and it's completely reversed. That was like, that should have been indication one that this was going to be weird. I don't know. What was your question? Because now I'm just rambling.
No, it was like what do you chalk up like the offense sucking ass to? Like it's just weird. Like you would.
Well, I think it's a couple things. Thank you for getting me back on track.
We got this.
One, it's not Duncan Robinson, because even when he was shooting at his worst, like I don't know, like he's still great.
38% on 9 attempts.
It's the regression from the other guys. It's a little bit of the no sneak up on anybody factor. I think that the short off season plays into it. Like, but none of that explains why they would have gone from being a good offensive team to all of a sudden just, you know, completely shelving that and being a more defensive minded unit. I mean, that's been what their brand of basketball has been. So it's not surprising they get back to it, but I mean, I guess shooting, that's going to be the number one thing if you want the one word answer.
So there's something I think is a little interesting kind of going in, and Brass, you could jump in how you feel. So if we look, Leif, when I look at this season, I look at it from January 30th on, because everything before that was COVID infested losses. Jimmy's ankle was bad, because even when Jimmy played before, I mean, he was playing on that bad ankle. That game in Dallas, he just wasn't right. So
that's the Sacramento win. That's what you're talking about.
That's the Sacramento win, yeah. So January 30th was when he came back into the lineup, and then I feel like their season restarted from there. So since that point in time, the Heat have a top 10 record. They're 29-19. They're 18th in offense at almost 112 offensive rating. They are 6th in defense with 110 defensive rating, and they're 12th in net rating. So they're almost a top 10 team in terms of point differential since that time period. And yet that's a good team. I mean, that record mark is ahead of teams like the Knicks that everyone hypes up, the Hawks, the Celtics, the Warriors, the Lakers, the Spurs, right? Like genuinely good teams. I think every team ahead of them, the Clippers, the Mavs, the Nets, the Sixers, the Bucks, the Jazz, the Nuggets, and the Suns are like legit contenders, right? So the Heat literally fall right at that break line between like contenders and not. And I do think that there's context to be had in that Heat. But like, if you look at that and I'm like, well, they're not like in such rough shape.
My issue with this season, and this is going back to the fuck them numbers kind of thing, is the teams that they have lost to have been bad, like really bad. I'm not mad if they lose to good teams. I think we're all in agreement of that. But it's just they've had so many boneheaded losses, even in that span of time, right? I mean, It's what you said, 29-19. That's what they were since Jimmy got back.
Yep.
That's great. And that's what's so weird is right now, what is their last 12 games or something like that? I mean, they're like 8 or 9 out of 12 or something. I mean, I forget the exact number, but yet we're so down on this team, but it's because we've seen so many dumb things. I mean, I'm with Leif. This is insane. See, this is just a dumb season.
In their last 10. They're 7-3 in their last 10.
Right. And usually when that's what your last 10 games look like, you're like, everybody fucking chill out. Come on, we got this. We're looking really good.
You're like,
but no,
we're cruising into the playoffs.
We're like stepping up on the edge of a bridge here. Like, and so, but I think we've seen enough, it's frustrating. But the fact that the Knicks are better than us right now is the only evidence you need to know that this season is fucking bullshit.
That was very well said.
they're approaching a part of their schedule which you have talked about a lot, which is Denver, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Spurs, the Suns, right? And those are desperate teams. And then on the back end, you get Charlotte, and there's another team, might be Washington, I don't remember, another team fighting for playoff positioning. So
I was so excited when I woke up this morning. I saw the Knicks lost, by the way.
Oh, dude, I was following that shit. Let me tell you something. I was refreshing.
Knicks losses are like Heat wins to me right now, man. It's
they've
like,
always been, but now especially.
Listen,
Yeah.
let me be first to tell everybody that they are going to regret the max Julius Randle contract.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
All right.
It feels very much like and I could be totally proven wrong.
Say it. I know.
No, don't say that. Don't backtrack, Leif. Let's come on.
It
give
feels
it.
like Amare. It feels like that kind of contract where like he has a great start to it and then it fizzles out. I don't know, man.
Are they going to keep him away from fire extinguishers in the playoff run?
Like this is his first year, right? That'll be one thing. But
Yeah.
this is that first year. Once he gets kind of scouted on a little bit differently, as a player that they focus on, I'm not buying Julius Randle. Are y'all? I know G.
I don't buy him in the playoffs. No, hell no. I mean,
Hold on.
if the Heat match up to him, they have the perfect defenders to play him. He hasn't even gone off on Miami. It's really been the other guys that have. Right. I mean, this is pretty much any team in the league. Like they have these guards who just have these career nights.
Miami is so used to playing down to them. So they're just whatever.
But they've won every game.
No, I know. But I'm so
Ooh,
Someone
just generally.
Alf says in the chat it's going to be an Eddie Curry contract.
An Eddie Curry situation.
That's a good reference.
But like,
okay. Gosh, that's very bleak.
Being in New York, I get a lot of comparisons like, oh, okay, Heat fans, they're all up. Yeah, sure, you won 3-0 against us. But remember when, if you recall in 2014, the Nets went 4-0 in the regular season against the Heat, which is true.
LeBron James is not.
I went to two of those games. Exactly. The Knicks aren't gonna. The Knicks are. They have already flipped. They don't have an extra switch in them. Like what you have seen recently is peak Knicks for the season. Which props to New York. It's a fine basketball team. I'm not saying they're awful. Yeah. I mean, they're compared to last fucking decade, it's fantastic, and I'm good for them, I guess. But like, they don't have another. I just don't think they have another level. And Miami, with Jimmy Butler, that alone is the extra level. Jimmy Butler is not gonna let Tibbs win a fucking series against him. There's not a chance. Yeah, he's not gonna let Julius Randle go off. Like it's just not gonna happen, guys.
It's not. Like, Leif, you asked, like, we think Julius is for real. This is a stat I like to reference. Last season, 14% on pull-up threes. This season, 41%. Feels very Draymond Green-esque.
Yeah. I mean, he's having a great year. I mean,
that's crazy. A 14% jump. Because, like, his diet on pull-up threes is what's insane. Because, like, okay, how do you guard that? Like, a pull-up three off the bounce, especially when he's rebounding and going, because he is a good ball handler.
Yeah.
That shit, I mean, how do you stop that at his size, right? You can't.
He's been great.
And he's been great. But that, to me, I'm just like, that's.
But this is what's fun. This is like, it's good that the Knicks are respectable right now because, in my opinion, with the way Randle has played, like, and I think they have flexibility going forward, if they don't lure somebody there, like, this is it, like, for them. Like, Tibbs is the coach, the structure.
If they can't do it this season, they're never going to do it ever
seriously,
again.
Yo. Like, is anybody ever going to go there if they don't go there now? So, like, I kind of like that their feet is to the fire in that respect because they'll likely come up short.
I tell you, no one's going to go there if they get swept in the fucking first round.
Was LeBron going to go there because Rich Paul's there now?
Gross.
No, he re-signed. He just re-signed. Never mind. Can't happen.
No.
New York right now is they are, I think, a game up on Atlanta. I'm gonna pull that up right now because I would really like a Heat Knick matchup. Half game, they're half game up on Atlanta. Miami's 2 games back of 4. So I think Atlanta's schedule is like kind of medium going forward. So there could, although they're Trae Young's playing and Gallinari's playing and Bogdanovic and all most of their key guys. Atlanta Twitter gets really mad at me when I say they're healthy. They're moderately healthy considering their top guys are all playing right now. So I don't really see if the Heat. I don't think the Heat get to 4. I do think they can get to 5, and if they get to 5, that might be because New York slipped and Atlanta might get to 4. So the matchup that I want, that I think is easiest for them, is Heat Knicks. Leif, I'm curious. I don't like a Heat Hawks matchup is a little worrisome to me because Collins bothers them. They love to switch stuff. And when the Atlanta can kind of bait out some switches, because they need to switch any action with Trae Young, they got to switch. Yeah. Unless they don't have size to put on them, and they got to. And then as we've seen, Collins has really done a number on them. They're a great slip team because when, best way to beat a switch is to slip. Shout out to Nikias. And they really, fucking Capella has been a monster against them, and a lot of it's been on kind of cuts, slips, all that stuff on their switches. And I think Miami would win, and I think that they'd be favored, and I think we'd all pick them, but it would be a series that would make us a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I kind of don't want that.
So here's
like that Charlotte series, I think, right?
Probably a little harder, but yeah.
Oh, that would be the play-in matchup. Gross. No, you know what? They'll crush them. Trust me.
Unless Malik Monk.
But looking up above as you were talking, G, I want to face New York. That's the number one matchup. One, because it's good for content, and I think y'all can relate to that there.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm too young for that. I don't remember that
Atlanta.
rival.
Yeah, but at least maybe there could be some kind of scrum that creates some sort of drama or a good series. Heat Atlanta is not that is going to be on some NBA TV madness.
Yeah.
But I would say I would rather. There's almost a weird part of me that would rather face Boston even because Atlanta's such a weird team. I feel like they would hit 100 threes and just play. I don't know. There's just a mental thing with Boston and what happened in the way that they kind of shut them out last year that I'm interested to see play out. But I want New York, no doubt.
For sure. But you're right with Boston. You know exactly what you're going to get with Boston. You know that. But there's there's just an unknown about Atlanta because they could be so hot and cold like that. Is this true? So Schmeeth and Schmolnick in the chat says Julius Randle has played 116 more minutes than anyone in the league.
Tibbs, baby, got those
Is
Tibbs
that
legs.
fucking true? Yeah, is Tibbs at it again?
Do you know that Jimmy Butler has played more minutes than Joel Embiid this season?
Really?
Because I was looking at, I was kind of working on MVP ballot stuff, and I was wondering
in a comparable amount of games.
I didn't check the games.
I don't really care. I'm just asking you to put you on your heels with these mundane stats.
Probably about even. Because there was. Because I really want to put Jimmy on an MVP ballot. I've been looking at every advanced stat that I can, every Raptor, Vorp, win share, LeBron, all shout out to the guys over there that do those numbers. But that Jimmy Randall's played a ton, and that's just.
He said Randall and Barrett rank first and third in total minutes played. So listen, rest assured, no matter what the Knicks do now, this is their peak, and their players are going to start breaking the fuck down.
I wonder if
very quickly over the next couple seasons. So this is their peak.
They're in a rhythm right now, and you get that week off between the play-in, between the last day of the season and whenever the play-in's finished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if it hurts a team like them. You're right.
So for me, I'm I think the biggest. Forget fuck the seeding, fuck the matchups. I think one of the most important things for the Heat to get out of the play-in is that you get that week rest, you get Goran some rest, you get Jimmy some rest, you get Tyler and Oladipo, whoever Andre needs it. Everybody get them a little rest, and also you give Spo a whole week to game plan. Let's go, baby.
Yep.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Coach,
all of those coaches are like that. That's where I have supreme confidence when I look at those three other coaches. I'm like, come on, man.
I think, Leif, I get really upset when after a loss, people blame. I saw people blaming Spo after the Mavs loss. And I'm like, they threw every defensive scheme at him in a way that I'm like, this is playoff Spo, dude. They're just doing everything that they have.
The Mavs lost to Sacramento the night before. We knew they were going to, I said it in all of the shows that we do and on the podcast, that was not going to be a game. As I looked at the last 7 on the schedule, that was one where I said, okay, that one they're going to lose. And they did. Why was everybody that surprised? I understand they were a little
it was the way,
but
it was the way they lost. It was,
that I was gonna say it's a really interesting. I'm sort of stuck on that point. I didn't even think of that the play-in teams, the teams that are going to be going against those play-in teams, do not have. They have time, but they don't have the same time to game plan that the middle seeded teams do.
Because they don't know who they're going to
play.
Which
is really interesting. I didn't even think of that little wrinkle. So
and like you don't know your matchup, right? Like so if you're like
that's
the
point,
top 2 seeds,
that was my point.
Bro, could you imagine like the Golden State Warriors playing against whatever the number 1 seed and them like making it past the first round?
Oh, but see that's it's gonna be fun to watch that unfold. Like nobody wants that Steph Curry stuff in like a short series.
Like Suns, Lakers. Imagine if the Lakers like finish out as the 7th seed.
Yeah,
I don't think the Lakers are getting out of the first round. They inspire no confidence in me. This is kind of like on the side, but like their shooting hasn't been good. Their offense hasn't looked good. Their defense has slipped.
You said this in the playoffs and they won the finals.
I did, but like it's different now. Like Anthony Davis is not having like an All NBA season
because he's been hurt all year.
Yeah, but like even when he's played, like the numbers aren't good, right? Like you look at his analytics, his numbers. You watch the film, he's just not as good as he was last year, and that's fine. I mean, like
what was his injury like again? I know LeBron's was like an ankle. What was his?
Achilles soreness.
Oh, yeah, that would.
It wasn't like yeah.
You guys think the champion's coming from the East, right?
I think so.
I think Milwaukee, man. I love them. I love what they're doing. I think that depending on Harden's health, I think that's gonna decide a lot. But I mean, the Bucks. I don't believe in the Sixers. I'm
gonna keep it real with it. Like I think Milwaukee is the one to beat in the East. And
is that a hipster take?
I know, but I feel kind of free from that. Like if it comes to that.
I'd feel freer if we were a 4 seed. I don't feel free right now.
No. Because my point in feeling free is I feel like I don't like my petty is not going to be there.
There is none. You're right.
I didn't want them to win last year going into the playoffs.
Correct.
Because I wanted a shot at Giannis, and I thought if Giannis didn't, if he won,
look at the sadness on Brian's face.
He's not going to leave. Oh, Brian's so.
I'm sorry he didn't come, man.
You have no You watching the show, you had no idea.
If you hope trafficked so hard and it didn't happen.
Brian,
I did. I am a complete fraud, and
we're all complicit, man. We didn't want CP3 because we thought we had a chance.
We had so many like photoshops like built just for
terrible.
that. We didn't even get a chance to like get in the door. That's the thing that's
we
like,
paid somebody to do photoshops. We did. Shout out to Jake Pablo.
Now you're telling me I owe you guys money. I'm so sorry.
Oh man, not. I mean, I can't. I'm not going to be able to sleep at night if Philly wins. I mean, there are certain teams.
Fuck the Sixers.
Yeah,
that process can never work.
And if somehow the NBA,
Harden cannot win a ring,
and if somehow the NBA can rig it again, and LeBron wins again, like I'm not gonna be happy with that either. But like, yeah,
I think one team I'd be really happy winning the championship would be the Suns.
No.
Why not?
Better now.
Yeah, just better.
Now.
Yeah, I can.
I want to see.
No, I mean they're
CP3
fine. They're fine.
No, I really want
all right
Chris
with
Paul to win a ring.
But there's a lot of teams in the West that I really don't care about. I mean, honestly, I'm fine.
Denver would have been a fun
I'm
pick.
fine. I'm fine with the Jazz except for Gobert. Like that's my hold up. If it weren't for if you could say okay, the Jazz are going to win, but Gobert doesn't get a ring, I'd be like, all right, fine.
No, we can't be rewarding an organization that chills that hypes up screen assists. We can't do that.
The Jazz aren't winning championships.
No,
they're like the Pacers.
I'm with you.
Fuck that.
We can't get another ring like that.
Oh god, now there's a Dwayne element too. If they draw the Warriors in round 1, I want that. Everyone's like everyone tells me I'm being dumb that they're just gonna bop the Warriors, and I was like, you know what? You're probably right. But I've seen Steph do ungodly things to Rudy Gobert, and he would put the fear of God in a team that I don't think is very confident.
This is true.
I think the Clippers would be the team that'd be favored in.
Do you think the listeners are going to be pissed when we haven't talked about the Heat like for the last 20 minutes?
What are we talking about?
Who cares about the listeners, Leif? What are we doing?
This isn't my show. Never mind.
Is Jimmy playing the next game? Is he playing?
Questionable.
He's questionable. So is Hero, which is the bigger surprise because I didn't think that was going to be the case at all.
I kind of expect him to be questionable. Like,
yeah, chat saying that
thought he was going to be down
for a while. Jimmy surprises me.
Does he have the same thing that Duncan had?
Stomach virus? Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
Flu, whatever.
I don't. Yeah, I was like, you're you're the saucy.
You're expecting me to know like these dudes' bowel movements and
I don't know, dog. I was like, maybe you know
going on. Like,
yeah, do they have a Sposis poster in their bathrooms?
Chat saying they love this, by the way. Chat saying they love you. Thank you, Leif. Somebody else says we love this. Keep going. Oh Harden. I do want to say Harden can't win a ring. We have too much stake in this Dwayne Wade greatness debate that I don't need Harden fans with ammunition.
Oh
True.
my gosh, this is so true.
Yeah, I really don't want that to happen. However, listen, absolute
worst.
worst.
That's awful.
Yeah, that's awful.
Oh,
That can't happen. Like that's just
No, dog.
that's just on the floor. I'm a Dwayne Wade stand first.
Yes.
I can't.
Listen, man.
I can't.
He ain't winning.
Dwayne's status in history is more important than this season.
Like legit.
He ain't winning 3, so it doesn't fucking matter. I don't really care.
Yeah,
about
but
that.
I don't want them to be armed with the. That was partly like my MVP thing because I don't want Embiid to win MVP. And I was like, I really want Jokic, but he was like kind of in the distance, and I didn't want LeBron to win another one. And then Harden came out of nowhere. I was like, oh, fuck anyone but him.
I hear you. But I will say, like, worst case scenario, if the Nets win, the Knicks didn't, and like,
It's true.
and like that's hilarious. That's just hilarious.
I
As
wish
long
those
as the
Lakers
Lakers
would
don't
play.
repeat, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I don't.
We
want
also
that.
need
Yeah, I
the
can't have that
Clippers to
happen.
flame out because we want that Kawhi angle.
Yeah, just let the Clippers do what the Clippers do.
We need.
Could you imagine if he orchestrated all that bullshit to get Paul George there and then he dipped from his hometown?
Leif, who did he want first?
He wanted
Who was his
Jimmy,
first
no
choice?
doubt.
He will. Listen,
First choice at the
How
dance
cool
was
is that?
Jimmy.
Like that makes Jimmy slander proof for life. Like so. Also, that needs to be highly clarified. That dude said, "Nah, I'm gonna go to Miami instead." When Kawhi said, "Come out to the Clippers," you know,
clarified like butter.
Yeah.
Dairy aisle situation. Leif,
Oh, boy.
I'm glad because I like talking to you about like kind of perspectives of Heat history, and I think we'll probably revisit this after the playoffs. I think about Jimmy a lot as like one of my favorite Heat players of all time, and I'm like, I'm not sure that he won't pass like Timmy and Zoe, maybe not Zoe, but a lot of those other guys, maybe like Shaq and stuff, because like. Bro, he's
past Shaq.
He's way past Shaq. I mean, let's be real.
He's actually for me past Timmy as well.
Yeah, same.
Oh, see, like that's
Same.
a hard one for a lot of people. That's a hard one.
No.
Well,
I mean, if
it's not hard
Brass
for
and
me.
I are saying it,
Yeah.
listen, it's we're moving on to the next topic.
if we can both say it, let it go, people.
We were
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
Glenn Rice champion jerseys, with the little champion logo here, size
Yeah, because
36, probably. Like
It's not it's not about winning. It's not about just being like an amazing player. It's just that motherfucker just encompasses everything that you have been beaten into your fucking brain over the last since Pat Riley got there. Like Jimmy is everything that this organization has been pumping into you, but the thing is, like with him, like the organization can say things, but like Jimmy, I believe it. This dude he's just legit, and he's a fucking psycho. I
so
love
good.
everything about him. He's so
he's
good.
better than they thought he was going to be. Like there's
Same.
almost a part of me that thinks if they knew he was going to be this damn good, that they would have actually like maybe gone in a different direction with the subsequent moves and gone all in a different kind of way. I don't know what that looks
Possible,
like. I'm
yeah.
completely throwing stuff at the wall,
Chris Paul.
but like, dude is unreal, man. Like he is so good.
Yes.
None of us knew, man. I mean, Leif, you remember we were on this podcast many years ago, 2 years ago, when he was on the Wolves, and there was that conversation of Josh Kelly and a first for Jimmy, and then Pat told Tibbs to hang the fuck up when he was waiting. And I was like, whoa, do you really want to trade a lot of stuff for a guy in his 30s? He doesn't match up with you. I was wrong. I mean, I'm dead wrong. I mean, he's been a legitimate MVP candidate. Like, he won't win, but he's he'll have some votes. He'll be on that ballot. He will get votes.
See, the thing is, if you ask the players, though, he's on the list. So, like, the ballots don't matter. The players would tell you Jimmy's on that short list of dudes who can carry you.
I would honestly, I'd trade for Jimmy again. Like if I could just like, there's guys on his team, but just hey, Jimmy,
Plus, Hassan was in this deal, so that's
my god,
it always is like a adrenaline rush when you get to see him get traded away.
I love they didn't overlap at all. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, he would have killed him. Because it
would have been funny.
Like Leif, when I'll never forget the moment when Jimmy scored over Giannis on a switch, and then yelled at the crowd after he just scored against a two-time defending MVP and the reigning defensive player of the year, and he just yelled to whoever would listen, he can't fucking guard me. And I'm like, he's the most badass person I've ever seen in my goddamn life.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
Agreed. Like, let's be honest. Would Jimmy ever complain about having to play in a plane?
No, I mean, I think he'd be pissed, but I think he'd do it.
fine.
He'd play
100%. I mean, like, yeah,
he'd
nobody
be fucking livid.
it's a pain in the ass, but I don't think he would make the LBJ comment.
I think, no, LeBron. I mean, that's weak, dude. I mean, you're in the. We talked about this already, but like, dude, you get to. They've been in the play-in all season, and I don't see them complaining. Jimmy's like, we'll figure it out, and LeBron's like, I want to take my ball home. I don't like this.
Sick of his
Not very
shit.
fun.
Go on.
Fuck him. Yeah, fuck him. But he's been great. Jimmy's been just. I mean, I don't know how he was even better than last year. I mean, I think every stat he's been in has gone up except for his free throw rate, which I typically don't want your free throw rate to go up because I just want you fresh for the playoffs. And I know that when he has, we will turn it on. Something that he has, Leif, that nobody else on this team has and that they need to get is he will hunt dudes on switches.
Yes.
And they don't have that kind of out. Like, he will be like, who's the smallest motherfucker on this court? Tyler Duncan, come screen for me, and I will. Bam doesn't have that. I think they've done a little bit more of that. They're posting up Bam earlier. They'll run their pistol stuff early in their offense, and then Bam will seal a guy immediately, and they've really committed to that. When Duncan's been screening for Bam a lot more often lately, I love that. They use Duncan in Spain, which is like, shout out to Nikias. That's really fun when they do that, and the Bam can handle. And they're trying to work matchups a little bit more for Bam, but it doesn't come as naturally to him. For Jimmy's the only other guy on the team. I think Goran a little bit, but Goran's lost a step. I mean, he used to kind of get bigs on a wire and then kind of dart to
but
the
not
rim.
necessarily hunt it down.
No, like
Oladipo, he's not necessarily
in the flow of the
looking
offense
forward in that same way that Jimmy does.
You need that in the
Or
playoffs.
even like
And that's-
Kyle Lowry, your buddy, DeMar DeRozan, they also do it very well.
Kyle's so good at it, and I think in that Celtics series last season, I mean, in that game 6 was fucking awesome. You saw that's the kind of guy that I think
see
would
me
be
subtly
really good.
hope trafficking our roster for next season.
Oh, dude, we've been doing that. Brian and I talked on our locker room session yesterday about like how we can work this offseason and get Kyle and Depot. Kyle would be so great here. I mean, we've talked a lot about that.
It can work.
We
I know Brian's
but-
running the numbers.
Oh, dude, listen, we're already we're thinking ahead. We're thinking ahead.
Speaking of Depot, actually, chat's asking Vane Hype. By the way, he subscribed actually earlier in the show. So
Yep,
shout out
thank
to
you,
you
Vane
for
Hype.
subscribing to Tier 1 sub. Vine Hype's asking, is there a smidgen of news on Oladipo, Leif?
I think he's going to play again. So I think, I don't know if it'll be, like come playoff time, but there's a lot of doubt around his camp and uncertainty, and the Heat aren't like bullshitting, like when they say they don't really know. And that to me is a little worrisome, but I just don't know how anyone around him or him himself could think that he could go into this free agency period walking off the court the way he did and think that he's going to get anything more than like peanuts. And so even if it transcends just basketball, I just feel like he has to get back on the court. So I'm expecting him to be back by the playoffs.
My take on this is like he really wants to be in Miami so bad. I think he needs to give it another shot so that this organization sees what he can bring in the playoffs.
They have
Agreed.
all the leverage.
He's
Like,
made
they have the
made it known
medicals.
so long that he wants to be here.
You're right.
But-
Now he's finally
also-
here. He needs to put it together.
But also,
Correct.
there are players that will get hurt this time in the season, and they will not play again because they're on a contract year, and they don't want to jeopardize that shit for the next season.
Peace.
But the thing is, like, he should want to, like, this is
He has no
a very
market.
odd thing. He has no market. He needs some prove-it minutes right
Big
now.
time.
Particularly with the organization that he is with right now. He wants them to want him. So, and they're not going to pay next to anything for him if he doesn't play the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I still think he's going to get a pretty
You think
deep
they want him
discount.
back, Leif? Because
Um,
I know that they are persnickety about guys who don't play through pain, and it's just who they are. Alonzo, Pat's old school, Udonis, Jimmy, even Dwayne. I said the other day, like, I think Dwayne gets a bad rep. Dwayne played
Oh my
hurt
gosh,
all the
yes.
fucking time.
He was
Dwayne
so
played
hurt.
banged up
People
all
don't
the
even
time.
realize. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fucking warrior. So I think that this kind of new age of guys, and I don't know how that sits with the organization given where they've come from. So I was kind of wondering your thoughts on that.
I lost my train of thought. Please ask the question
if
again.
they want him, if you think that they'd want him back, considering this kind of injury.
He's not their first choice. Like, let's just be transparent about that. I feel like there was it was anticlimactic at the deadline when they didn't get Kyle Lowry. I think even Jimmy would probably admit that behind closed doors that he really wanted Kyle Lowry, and then it didn't happen. Oladipo was like the scramble move there at the end. They know they've had the leverage. He's been on the back burner this whole time. I think that they like the idea of it, but it's not Jimmy's first choice. And Christian Hernandez, as you guys know, has convinced me that anything that's not conducive to Jimmy's window is not priority. So I don't know. I guess I feel like this. If he were to go out and play awesome and they were to make a run, then I think the organization would warm up to him. Like, I'm all in. Like, let's give him 20 million per and go. But he has to show some of that. Like, he's not like an outside player where you're like where you can just sell that hope. Like, I'm not there with him.
I legitimately think it's wild they didn't pull the trigger on the Lowry deal, because as you just said, and Christian has said, and we've all said, this is Jimmy's team. He signs off on all this shit. I mean, this is this is his thing. This is his window. But the fact that we found out afterwards that Kyle Lowry is the godfather of his fucking kid, and they didn't pull that trigger.
So lucky. He's so lucky.
He's fucking crazy.
But they're gonna get him now, and they're
You're
not
making it
gonna
weird,
have
G.
to have given up Tyler Hero. Like, you're weird for just even going there. But
I was making a joke. I was playing into the bit. God damn.
Hate your bits.
Yeah, bad bit. Leif,
I got one more thing for Leif on this topic before we transition, because there was a tweet that I saw. I have never actually confirmed it, but I know that both Ethan and Ira have that little like podcast that they're doing, whatever it is,
on
that
Side
little
Radio
show.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, they said that on that show, Ira or whoever said it was that he has a patellar subluxation, and he's anticipated to miss 4 to 6 weeks. I don't know. Is that true?
Every indication is it is true, but it's Ira's report. It is not Ethan's, and Ethan has been loud and clear about that. So, I would think, though, this is all I'll say, is that if it wasn't true, because it's Ira, and you see how Jimmy and UD talk to Ira, well, you can expect how Heat PR talks to Ira. He would have heard about it. There's probably some truth to it.
Because I was looking at that window in that 4 to 6 week range. 4 to 4 weeks would be this week. 6 weeks would be right before the first round.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking playoffs, and at least it ain't 6 to 8 weeks, guys, right?
Right. And
so hold on, Schmeathan with a great joke in chat. If it's Ira's report, that means Barry had it first. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Yo, Ira's sense of humor is great. I said this the other day. Like, for you to go up there and for you to take that joke from Jimmy like that, like a champ. Dude.
You have
Ira's
no idea how far back that feud goes, though.
Oh, so far back. But I want to report that I'm hearing that Bielitsa has not played many minutes recently because he has a pub subluxation.
Hey, so do I.
Do you miss pub subs, Leif?
Miss them. Do you think I would move here if I didn't first confirm that there was
There's
Publix?
Publix up
Hell
there?
Yeah,
Let's go.
I won't move anywhere where there's not Publix. Sorry, Bass.
I just bought a
I don't have a Publix anywhere near me.
And I had to make sure that there was a Publix in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
that's
like the first thing I googled before they moved me from Florida to Charleston.
Same here, G. I just bought a house too.
I'm that lame.
Listen, it's important. All right, Leif. So before we get you out of here, a couple things on the back end. So I want, and this is like basically my chance to pick your brain of things that we've talked about all year, because you are the perspective guy. And in terms of Bam's aggression, and a lot of it was made on the game against Dallas, right? They lose. Bam's not very offensively active in terms of a shot attempter, right? Kind of a deliberated to dribble handoffs and stuff. Their offense was fine, by the way. They were 117 offensive rating that game, well above their average, enough to totally win the game. I don't know how much you make of that, and I'm curious as to like what you hear about how people around the team feel about that, and how you feel. Like, is it? I know that Jimmy called them out, but like, are fans making more of it than it is, or?
I mean, let's be honest. There's come on now. Like when we watch him and he only shoots 11 times or 12 times, well, his average is probably 12 or 13 attempts. So let's say 10 times or less or whatever. It's frustrating. Like that's nobody ever is denying that. The organization. So I'll start there. I've never spoken to a human being around the organization that does not talk about Bam Adebayo as if he is on the same trajectory as like every other like Alonzo Mourning, Dwayne Wade like figure that will stay here at all costs. I believe that the list of players that they would trade him on 1-for-1 deals is like really short, like maybe 5. I don't know. Like they value him in ways that I think people would be surprised. So that's how the org feels. They're not concerned at all because of this. Like he's 23 years old. He's still learning. He's never been a number one option on any team he's ever played on, AAU, high school, college. You know, he's always been a role player. So he's like growing into this, and we know he's got the chops for it. I mean, all he has to do is spend all summer working on isolation basketball, because that's it. Like that's like what a fun thing to work on all summer. He's got everything else, so all he has to do is that. I think he's gonna come together, and it'll be, you know, he's Bam Adebayo. He has no ceiling, but I understand why people get frustrated now. It's just when people start to go this year and say he doesn't have it, like that's where you lose me, because it's completely prisoner of the moment bullshit.
He's shooting nearly 13 attempts per game.
13.
Heat, by the way, bottom 5 team in terms of isolation possessions. Part of that's Goran's decline. Part of that's Jimmy's missed a ton of games, and part of that's just Bam doesn't do it as much as he should. And they run plays for him to do it. Like there have been several times that
it's
run
accelerated though. They initially weren't, at least, and you're better at catching this.
No, you're right.
But it felt like initially he was much further from the basket, and as the season has gone, they've like found spots for him much closer in those sweet spots.
He doesn't always take it. Like they'll give him the keys, and he doesn't always drive. Like I think that the one time that he did every time was that game against Brooklyn where he had the 40, and they would run that little screen down the middle with Duncan, and he would kind of come off it, get Jeff Green trailing a little bit. And I think Jeff's a good player because he doesn't have a size advantage over many 5s. Mm-hmm. That was like one of the times he did, and he's like, I can shoot over him and I can do anything. They like to clear sides of the floors and run actions, and I know that has been met with mixed kind of feelings. I like it for Bam because I think if you make the reads as simple as possible with his size and his passing ability, he can, like they do this out of bounds play that, you know, Duncan will inbound and then screen for Bam down low, and they'll try to squeeze one near the basket with the left side cleared out. I love that. They run a lot of actions where they just keep 4 or 5 guys on one side and then Bam on the other, and they'll run 2-man game, right? A guy will come down the middle or they'll screen up top. So they go out of their way to kind of manipulate the floor for his success, and I sometimes I get upset and disappointed. And then, you know, Leif Jack hosts Weird Off pregame show, WAP. Jack always is like the big Bam guy, a big Bam defender. He's like, hey, listen, he's so ahead of schedule.
Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you.
Look at Jokic's like seasons, right? Like you look at his year 3 or his 8 seasons, and it's like you look and you're like, okay, like we were just accelerated because of what they did in the playoffs and their success and how good he was, and like now the spotlight's on, everyone's game planning for you and you specific, because Bam was a surprise all-star last season.
He's so ahead of schedule. Yo, he's the 200th highest paid player in the league. 200th right now. Next year when his max extension kicks in and he has to really step up his game, he'll be the 41st highest player.
That's wild. Holy shit.
Come on. Like, people need to relax, yo.
Well,
and that's before any of these new contracts this summer.
That's true. The list is ever changing, Brian.
Right.
No, it's gonna be even more players. That's the thing. Like he'll probably be almost 50 if I don't know.
But like to me, the issue isn't that Bam doesn't have it. Like my issue is we have seen that Bam has it. The issue is like it's frustrating when he doesn't prove that he has it.
Yeah,
I think that's the
what
bigger
raises the
issue.
question, right?
Right, but he's got it, and it's just it can be kind of annoying, and I'm more disappointed in those losses or those games where he doesn't sort of kick it into that extra gear, because I know he has it. It's not the lack of him having it, guys. Bam has it. Bam is that dude.
hold on. I've been looking at Bam's like isolation possession numbers, right? So he's at 10% this season and leads the team in isolation possessions. 10% of his possessions are in isolation, which is good. Ahead of Jimmy, and he's the most efficient.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that surprised me. I thought maybe Goran might be ahead because Goran's usually, but so I'm going back on Heat season. So last year Jimmy led the team at 9.7. So Bam's actually isolating this season more than Jimmy did last season. And when we get to the Dion Waiters years, so Dion, his last season here isolated 16% of the time. James Johnson, by the way, 13% of the time. That's more than Dwayne Wade, who was here that year. That's a lot. The year before that, Dion, 17% of his possessions were isolation. James Johnson, 14%. I think we know why those teams weren't that good. And then as far back as we track this, Dion Waiters in 2016, 2017, 22% of his possessions
Is that the
were
30-11
isolation.
season?
I think, right? 2016 was 30.
What about Wade in 08, 09?
It doesn't go back that far. It goes back as far as 2015. Dwayne, let's see. Dwayne was on the 2015-2016 team.
Yeah.
Dwayne isolated 11%. Chris Bosh at 13%. By the way,
that's when he was transitioning his game.
Chris Bosh, 1.2 points per possession with a massive amount of frequency. That's amazing. Shout out to Chris Bosh. I fucking love that guy.
Julius Randle will never.
No.
Julius Randle will never.
Fuck him.
Leif,
Never.
do you put Jimmy over CB? Like, I think that's where it gets really hard.
Not yet.
Yes,
I
I
don't
do.
think.
I do.
You do?
You
I
do.
don't think I wouldn't put it in there yet.
Because
I do
here's
too.
the thing, y'all. Like, would a Chris Bosh led team take you to the NBA Finals? Yes
We
or
don't
no?
know.
We
don't
never
know.
got to see that.
We'll
never got
never
to see
know,
But
Leif.
I love
CB has the guts though.
Bosh,
Leif,
but
I know that CB doesn't have Jimmy level guts of steel, but he has guts.
He does, but it's not the
If
same.
he got
as
to play
Jimmy.
with
Come on,
Bam,
guys. Like,
if he got to play with Bam last season,
Oh,
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, if we got prime CB with Bam and Goran, I'm just saying that I don't know.
we would have won a
think that
title.
highly of him.
That's what I would have known.
but with no Jimmy,
No, with Jimmy.
Yeah, like replace Jimmy
with-
for prime CB.
No,
Oh.
keep that team, but you're adding Bosh to it.
that's
that's two different
like-
things entirely.
That's,
Oh, yeah, no,
that's
yeah,
called
no,
heaven. Actually,
That's called,
Yeah.
That's called the timeline that should have happened.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Probably no
Could you
Tyler
imagine?
then, because I don't think the team would be that bad.
who
but it's okay.
cares?
Who cares?
Speaking of
Who
Tyler,
cares?
I actually did want to ask Leif, like, what's the organization's feeling about him now lately? Because I've heard mixed things.
I think that too much is being made of his off the court focus stuff. Personally, from what I've heard, actually, the primary thing that they'd love for him to be is as passionate about getting in the weight room as he is passionate about playing basketball. He loves to play basketball all day long. But the lifting weights thing is a different story. And I think for him to really be that next level player, he's going to have to sculpt his body. So like that's that. If there was one takeaway from this season, it's that he should commit to that. And I also think it's just a little weird that Jimmy hasn't propped him up the way he did in year one.
Chat was literally. I didn't want to read that because I didn't want to put you in that position. But somebody's like, "Hey, Leif, why is Jimmy not talking
It's
about?"
weird.
post-
No Tyler Tuesdays. He doesn't talk about him in the pressers the same way and prop him up. I don't quite understand it. It
I
didn't
mean, he
dawn
hasn't
on me
earned
till a
it.
week
He
ago.
hasn't earned it.
Okay.
Let's be frank. I mean, it's been a rough. It's been a rough.
He's
season
still
to guess
upset
him.
that they didn't trade him for Lowry.
Shit, you look at him like that. You could be my friend.
He was
over
never
here.
in the deal
No, I know.
ever.
Yeah, I figure. I mean, from what I understood, Leif, they just couldn't get the draft pick
Correct.
because the Thunder were just being assholes.
The players was not the issue.
Yeah, like and like so the Heat, Sam
In
Presti, from
retrospect-
what I understand,
Yeah, go
was
ahead.
like, you need to give me something to unprotect the pick, and Riley's like, fuck you.
Yeah. Well, it was just too much because he had to go fishing for picks elsewhere also to try to facilitate what was happening in the other direction.
Too many.
But now, like, he's going to be able to go over the cap to keep Duncan and sign Lowry into space. So,
Listen, let's think of it like when they lost out on the Jimmy trade, when Riley hung up the phone on
You're right.
on Tibbs,
very similar.
and lo and behold, look what happened. I will get my man. Listen, if he got Juwan Howard all those years later,
When's the last time you bought a jersey?
I bought a jersey.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade, 2005.
Boom. You were buying a Kyle Lowry jersey, aren't you?
Oh, 100%. Like, kidding me?
You're going to get like the trophy gold edition.
That's
even
not
if
true.
Though he
I
hasn't
have-
won yet.
I have a Dwayne Wade white jersey that I bought at the airport the year that he left, and you know how heartbroken I was. And I was
buying a white jersey.
I was I was in the airport. I was in the American Airlines terminal, and I walked by the Heat store, and there was like a Dwayne jersey on clearance because he had just left. And I looked at that shit. That shit looked at me. I was like, I'm copping this. Fuck it. I need it. I don't have one.
What
I
a
only have the black.
depressing story to end the show.
It was. I know. I'm so sorry. God damn. Listen,
At least
I love
you weren't
Dwayne.
buying jeans in 2-packs at Sam's Club or Costco.